Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, people. Heavyweight news. I mean, we are getting a lot of heavyweight news. It is coming shooting out of sources, well, like lunch from a bulimic pretty much at this stage. Hearing stuff about Joyce, Dillian White, Anthony Joshua. We're busy with heavyweight news. And you know me, I love the heavyweights. I just do. I can't help it. It's my favourite division. And I'm going to try and get these all covered in a couple of different videos. But one that kind of is really intriguing, because it's not the opponent I really would have thought, is Joyce. So his next fight is reportedly agreed. We haven't had any official announcement yet, but it's reportedly agreed for April the 15th in London. Most likely the OVO Arena. He fought in there when he fought Christian Hammer. I'd say that's more likely where it'll be. But the opponent, Zhang, is the name that's being mentioned. And personally for me, I thought they would have probably got someone like Kubrat Pulev, someone who Joyce could look pretty devastating against, because he's seen better days, it's fair to say, at this stage, and doesn't really like Joyce's chin, fair to say, is very good. Pulev never noted as a big puncher. I thought it would have been an easy enough job for Joyce, but they've announced Zhang. Now, Zhang as an opponent, definitely in my opinion, has a lot more left than Kubrat Pulev. He's coming off the back of a disputed loss, it has to be said. A lot of people felt that he beat Filip Hrgovic, and I've said this once, I'll say it again. That fight, I don't really know if it was Hrgovic being poor or if it was, I'll hold my hands up, I didn't think Zhang would do well at all in that fight. I remember going into it thinking Zhang is going to get blasted out in a couple of rounds, because I hadn't really been impressed with Zhang. I've seen punching power from Zhang, tremendous punching power. I mean, that's, you know, you can just tell Zhang has tremendous power in that left hand. It goes without saying, you can see that. But slow, really has a poor gas tank, not a great gas tank. And just easy to hit, and I just didn't. I looked at Zhang and I just thought, like, Hrgovic's gonna go through you, and it didn't happen. You know, Zhang, it shouldn't have been called a knockdown, but officially he dropped Hrgovic. It really shouldn't have been called a knockdown, but he did a lot better than we all gave him credit for, and he did. Even though that knockdown shouldn't have been called a knockdown, he definitely wobbled Hrgovic a couple of times in there. I mean, Hrgovic was buzzed a few times, so he's got power. In terms of an opponent for Joyce, he is coming off the back of a loss, has to be said. But again, in a final eliminator, I think with Joyce, they don't really want to probably take any unnecessary risks. What with the fact that he's got a guaranteed crack at the winner of Fury Usyk, and if he doesn't get a guaranteed crack at the winner, if one of them decides to vacate, well, he's interim champion, which is better than being mandatory, because it means he'll be elevated to full champion. So the difference between the two is, if you're mandatory and the champion relinquishes, you don't get the title. You have to fight number 2 for the vacant title. In some cases, it could actually be a harder task fighting, you know, number 2 in the rankings for a vacant title than it would be fighting the actual champion. Whereas if you're interim champion, you don't have to go through all that. If the champion can't fight you, he vacates, you're champion, and you just inherit the mandatory. So it's a glorified mandatory spot, it is, for want of a better word. That's the best way to describe interim champion. So he's looking to stay active. Obviously, he had that very good win over Joseph Parker back in September. He's been getting more active because he fought twice last year. Compare that with the last couple of years, he's been very inactive, Jojo. Not inactive, but as active as probably the time's allowed, truth be told. But he's had issues with injuries with his wrist and stuff like that. So he ain't getting any younger either. And, you know, I think they're really trying to get him in a big fight. Obviously, I'm sure Frank Warren is hoping Fury Usyk happens and Fury wins. It's his fighter, so he can do Joyce versus Tyson Fury, because that would be a big fight in the UK. It would, have no doubt it would. It'd do Wembley, in my opinion. It probably would. So he's looking at him against Zhang. A bit more dangerous than I thought they would have went, truth be told. Yes, Joyce has a very, very good chin, and he does. But Zhang, man, that power is there. It's going to be interesting, you know. Would I put Zhang up there with Deontay Wilder in terms of Wilder's right hand? Probably not. Wilder's right hand is a lot faster. It's probably is a harder punch. Well, it definitely is, more than likely. Never been hit, thank God, by either of them. Don't want to be. But still, though, Zhang with that power, it's a risk. Joyce should. It's going to be interesting because, you know, I wrote Zhang off against Hrgovic, and Hrgovic really underperformed. Joyce tends to fight to the level of his opponent. And I haven't seen how Zhang was against Hrgovic. Would he believe that he's a level above what he thought? And will we see Joyce rise to that occasion? Possibly. I mean, Zhang, to his credit, Took the shots from Hrgovic well, but Joe Joyce is such a thunderous, heavy-handed puncher. Wonder how he'd take that. And bear in mind, I think, how old is Zhang now? 39, 40? He's not getting any younger either. So, let's see. I mean, Joyce versus Zhang. Hey, I'll take it. I mean, it's a pretty high likelihood we're going to get a knockout. Two big, huge guys swinging it out in the ring. I'm all for it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you kind of get taken a bit by surprise by this opponent? I personally thought they would have got a Pulev or someone like that, sort of way for Joe Joyce. I actually thought they might maybe take a risk on Bacoli. Now, he may be a risk higher than a Zhilei Zhang, because obviously some people would say, no, Bacoli, look at him prior to Tony Yoka. And I would say that's a fair point, truth be told. He didn't look amazing in certain fights, but against Yoka, it all seemed to really click. Would they do that? I kind of thought it'd be kind of someone in around that kind of level, if you know what I mean. But, hey, look, it's going to be an interesting fight. It'd be a real case. You'd be watching the left hand of Zhang to see if it does in fact land on Joyce, how he would react. So, yeah, interesting one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Of course, as always, smash the like button if you could, people. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. We are almost into the less than 100, into 10k. With a good weekend this week, hopefully we'll get, if not thereabouts. If not thereabouts. I'll leave you with that, people. Smash the like button if you could, as always. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. For now, I'll talk to you. Peace.